Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. We were going through the experiences Papa had and how it is named as Jnanottara Bhakti. So here again, we would like to go through Papa's own words. From the Saguna to the Nirguna, then the combination of Jnanottara Bhakti. One day, it might be after midnight, everybody in the house was fast asleep, and he saw the form of Lord Krishna standing before him. He was, of course, blue in complexion, was wearing a yellow-colored silk dhoti with garland and crown, flute in his hand, and was dancing. On seeing the Lord standing in front of him, Ramdas prayed to him, "O Lord, you have taught this child through your Gita that the realization of the Absolute depends upon our transcending all gunas and dandvas. I do not crave for this Saguna darshan. You can give me the universal vision. So I beg of you to grant me this supreme vision." Then the form of Lord Krishna disappeared. Ramdas was a constant reader of the Bhagavad-Gita. He was only a child of God and not much learned. He drew inspiration from the great scripture, the Gita. He found that the goal which the Gita holds before us is nothing less than universal vision. Not merely seeing God as a personal being, but to see him as the universal or cosmic reality. To behold the whole universe as its manifestation. It is said that this highest vision alone will grant us the state of perfect and eternal happiness. Saguna darshan will appear and disappear, and when it disappears, we shall be utterly unhappy. But universal vision is not like that. Therein, we feel the presence of God always, every moment of our life, and everywhere. We look upon all the forms, beings, and creatures in the universe as the very expression or manifestation of God. In this state, we enjoy ineffable peace and bliss. Ramdas' aim was to attain this vision. After reading the Gita, his craving was not at all for Saguna darshan. He wanted only the grandest vision by which he could behold the whole universe as his form, as God's form. It was when this desire was taking root in his heart that the Lord appeared to him in the form of Krishna. Ramdas's prayer to the Lord to grant him the universal vision was fulfilled after a short while when he was in a cave on the Arunachala hill, Tiruvannamalai. It came about like this. Soon after he had the Saguna darshan, he had to leave Mangalore and go wandering from place to place. In the course of it, God, in his own mysterious way, took him to Tiruvannamalai. Ramdas' state in those days was like that of a child, waiting always for the mother's guidance. He had absolutely no sankalpas or plans of his own. So when a sadhu asked him to accompany him to Tiruvannamalai, he simply followed the sadhu. The latter took him to Ramana Maharshi. The very sight of Maharshi left an indelible impression on Ramdas. The darshan prepared Ramdas for the universal vision. The Maharshi stands for Nirguna Brahman. Jnana path. So he poured into Ramdas the necessary power to attain this vision. See how beautifully these things were arranged by God in his mysterious ways. After the darshan of the Maharshi, Ramdas remained in a cave in the Arunachala hill. During his stay in the cave, he had absolutely no sleep, and for food he used to take only a small quantity of boiled rice, which he prepared out of the raw rice he got as alms. He was chanting the Rama mantra day and night. After 20 days' stay in the cave, one morning his eyes were filled with a strange light, and he could realize the presence of the divine everywhere. This new vision gave him such waves of ecstasy that he started running about here and there, embracing the trees and rocks, shouting, "This is my Ram, this is my Ram." He could not resist the ecstasy. This was his first vision of the universal being. He left Arunachala hill and was taken by God from place to many tirthas. He also made him come in contact with many Mahatmas. Ramdas knew he was being looked after by God as he had assured in Gita. Starting from bhakti, you attain jnana and then vijnana. Vijnana is the universal vision. God has been guiding this child from stage to stage, step by step. He granted him first of all Saguna darshan and then Nirguna darshan. He also gave him the universal vision, seeing him everywhere. But there was still something more. Is there a step yet together? Yes. Having realized God as Purusha and Prakriti, you become the servant and the child of God. Knowing you are one with God, you enjoy His presence as His child. You then dedicate your entire life to Him. That is why in the Bhagavad-Gita, the sloka relating to surrender has been put in the last chapter. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja ahantva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shujha. This means that after realizing everything, you have to be His child. In fact, God Himself is the mother and the child. You can do all these things with Him as you do with one whom you love. What a wonderful and glorious state it is. It is not an ordinary one. To become a child of God is the sweetest relationship a devotee can have with God. You must have read in his books that Ramdas was often freely talking to Ram. Ramdas could feel his presence within him and everywhere about him. Not only does he see God in you all, but when he is talking with you, he talks with him too. This is called Nitya Darshan. This constitutes an all comprehensive realization of God. Now you can freely move in the world. Remain ever in a state of bliss. Your heart will be crystal pure. There will be absolutely no room for lust, greed, wrath. For one who has attained such a state, there is no lower nature to overpower him. He has transcended the lower Prakriti, dwells in Paraprakriti. Ramdas has come to the end of what he has to say about God realization, the integral state of spiritual perfection. Of course, however much we try, our intellect will not be able to catch the Jnanottara Bhakti aspect because it has to come from him. Jnana is necessary, but Jnana alone will not give us the sweetness. So Bhakti is necessary. Jnana and Bhakti. Saguna and Nirguna darshan. Jnana gives the Nirguna darshan. Bhakti gives the Saguna darshan. But Bhakti based upon Jnana gives not a particular object as God, but the entire creation. This is something we have to keep on churning within, otherwise it will not be very clear. Because the intellect will come and stand before us and will put half a dozen hurdles. So the only way is to seek his intervention. You are there within me in the Nirguna Nirakara Swarup, and therefore you are there in everybody as the Nirguna Nirakara Swarup. But you have become the Saguna Sakara as the entire universe. So give me that vision, darshan, by which I will be able to see you, the Nirguna Nirakara darshan in the Saguna Sakara manifestation. This is why We, there are so many words coming and going, so and it's subjective, absolutely subjective. So we keep on praying this. My spiritual preceptor has made me understood that you are there. When we say you are there, we can understand you are without name, without form, but the subtle, mysterious force. And if it is there in me, it is there in every creation, every manifestation. Now enable me to see you in the Saguna Sakara Roop. We have read many a time this, but for the people who are hearing it for the first time, Vyasa told Shuka, the son Shuka, to his son, Shuka, my son, you have certainly attained self-knowledge, but it lacks the seal of confirmation from a guru. So I would like you to go to Janaka, the king, for this purpose. Shuka thereupon proceeded to meet King Janaka. On the way to the palace, he passed through the capital city, observing the urban scene, which is unknown to the young hermit. When he reached the palace and met the king, the following conversation took place. Saguna Nirguna, this is we are trying to understand. Janaka, what brings you here, young man? Shuka, to gain knowledge, sir. Janaka, who has sent you? Shuka, Vyasa, my father has asked me to meet you. Janaka, where from have you come? Shuka, from the ashram. Janaka, while coming here from the ashram, what did you observe in the market? I observed sweet meats made of sugar piled up everywhere. Janaka, what else did you see? Shuga, I saw sugar statues walking in the streets and talking with each other. Janaka, what did you see next? I then saw palace steps made of sugar. And what thereafter? Everywhere I found pictures made of sugar. And what are you seeing now? A sugar statue is talking to another sugar statue. Janaka said, well, you may go now. You have indeed attained self-knowledge. So he was only seeing one, though there are so many objects he has passed through. He named it as sugar. Nothing else. The Shuga got what he wanted, a certificate from Janaka that he has attained self-knowledge. The point is that Janaka, the Karma Yogi, accepted Shuga, the sannyasi, as his disciple. Ramdas can place only before you his own experiences with regard to God realization. He feels one with God, still he is separate from him. God is the mother and Ramdas is the child. He is in constant communion with God and enjoys supreme bliss. This relationship is based upon his realization of oneness with God. It is based on Jnana itself. Jnana is the state of knowledge or knowledge itself, by which you do not see any difference between yourself and God. You feel identical with Him. You know that there is only one truth, no duality, all is He. There is only one Brahman, whom we call it as Purusha, Shiva, Vishnu, Brahman. All refer to the same. He is also Prakriti, Shakti, Maya. God that we have to realize is not an object for argument. By argument, we will not be able to understand Him. He is beyond all reasoning. Ramdas has in his yesterday's talk given a summary of the evolution he was made to pass through before he was brought to the present state of being one with God and at the same time remaining separate from Him as His servant and child. Briefly, it is like this. In the first place, God gave him an intense longing to realize Him, and in order to progress on the path, he was given the Rama mantra. This he was repeating constantly in order to purify his mind and prepare himself to get God vision. This longing created in him a dispassion toward the things of the world until at last his mind was completely absorbed in God. So much so that he, as an individual, ceased to exist and was aware of only the cosmic soul, the nameless, formless truth. But after giving him this experience, God led Ramdas forward. So far, he had looked upon the universe as a mere shadow. He could as well say that the world did not then exist for him. He had neither attraction nor repulsion for the world. Then the experience came to him, in which he beheld the whole universe as the manifestation of God. Now the world as world did not exist, but it existed for him as God himself. This is a state achieved through parabhakti. Parabhakti is bhakti that comes to you after the realization of God in his Nirguna aspect. The realization that you are the Atman, which is Nirguna, Nirvikara, which pervade the entire universe. As this Nirguna Tattva, he is the substratum for this manifestation. Ramdas was made to go along this path, leading to the vision of the world as the manifestation of the world, of the Lord. It is said that Shiva is lying down motionless, and on his chest Kali or Shakti is dancing. This is the Leela of Shiva and Shakti. Shakti is the dynamic force, having Shiva, who is static at the base, is playing the Leela of creation, preservation, destruction of all the worlds. In fact, the universe itself is she. We speak in terms of male and female in regard to living creatures in the world, but in truth, there is not such a thing. It is all the manifestation of Prakriti or Shakti, and there is only one Purusha, the static, calm, silent Shiva, who is the ground and support of this manifestation. We are trying to understand this Jnanottara Bhakti, A bhakti or a devotion that is not limited to one particular form. This is the toughest stage. Because when you go to a temple, when we read experiences of devotees to that particular, associated with that particular form, normally our mind also gets attuned to it. Yesterday we were sharing Lord Guruvayurappa, devotee, the incidents of Lord Guruvayurappa. Like that, when we keep on hearing, there is a likelihood that we may also develop a devotion to that particular form. So in that case, we have to request in the same manner as Papa did. This form will come and go. I want that stays with me. That means my original nature alone will stay with me. And my original nature is Nirguna Nirakara Nirvikara. Because when I close my eyes and start observing my body, observing my thoughts, observing the various activities done by this sense of individuality, we find we are the witness. We become aware of our body, we become aware of our thoughts, we become aware of these words. Who becomes aware? And it has no name and form. In order that we understand the word this clearly, Mataji used to define the word Papa as Nirguna Nirakara Shashvata Ananda Swarup. None of us understood, Mataji says, you must know who Papa is. Papa is Nirguna Nirakara Shashvata, all-pervading existence. You can get some idea of Papa's Swarup if you stand on an open ground and look at the sky. The space where there is nothing between the earth and sky can give you an insight of beloved Papa's all-pervading existence beyond all names and forms. Though his Nirguna Swarup cannot be compared to anything, to give you some idea, I would say that it is like the vacant space between us, which is all-pervading. He cannot enjoy his bliss as Nirguna, but he willed that he should enjoy it, and in order to do so, he projected himself as the entire universe and the multitudinous beings and creatures in it. As the indwelling reality, beloved eternal Papa hides himself, and therefore all are not aware of his existence in them. In order to make them aware of it and to reveal himself in their hearts, our Sadguru, beloved Papa, came in human form to guide them. Before, she was only telling beloved Papa. Now she was referring to the form. So that in order that there is no confusion at all, there she used the word Sadguru. Because previously, by the word Papa, she meant only the all-pervading reality, not this form. We will again need. Papa wanted me to look upon the Guru as the omnipresent, omniscient, Nirguna, Nirvikar being. Papa taught me that Guru was as vast, limitless, formless as the emptiness all around me. You pour water into the emptiness, it will not get wet. You set fire to it, it will not burn. Such a universal one is the Guru. While surrendering himself completely to the Guru, the disciple does not look upon the Guru as does so, looking upon the Guru as the all-pervading, nameless, formless reality, who is the great void existing all around. By so doing, the devotee reduces himself to nothingness, as well as gives himself up to his master, who is already the all-pervading void. You must know who God is, Papa is. That's Papa. Papa, God is Nirguna Nirakara Shashvata, all-pervading existence. You can get some idea of Papa's Swarup if you stand upon an open ground and look at the sky. The space where there is nothing between the earth and the sky can give you an insight into beloved Papa's all-pervading existence beyond all names and forms. Because the space envelops everything, but the space does not get affected by anything, affected by the contents. The space is not affected by it remains untouched and unaffected. But at the same time, everything is in the space. In some part of the space, deplorable things will be happening. In some part of the space, noble things will be happening. In some part of the space, creation is going on. In some part of the space, destruction is going on. But the space remains untouched, unaffected. That is why often the Nirguna Nirakara Nirvikara Swarup is compared to space, Gaganam, Gagana Sadrisham. The space where there is nothing between the earth and the sky can give you an insight into Virat Papa's all-pervading existence beyond all names and forms. Though his Nirguna Swarup cannot be compared to anything, to give you some idea, because he is the very subject now behind these words. So words cannot define him. It is the power behind, because of which the words are being uttered. So we cannot form any concept. But since we have only a vehicle called the thought, we need some concept on the conceptless reality, something approximating to the reality. So that is why approximating, that is why this is given. Though his Nirguna Swarup cannot be compared to anything, to give you some idea, I would say that it is like the vacant space between us which is all pervading. He cannot enjoy his bliss as Nirguna, but he willed he should enjoy it. And in order to do so, he projected himself as the entire universe and the multitudinous beings and creatures in it. As the indwelling reality, beloved eternal Papa, she wants to clearly mention this. This form had a beginning and an end. So we can't call it is eternal. So in order that we try to understand properly, here she uses the word, beloved eternal Papa hides himself, and therefore all are not aware of his existence in them, in all of us. In order to make them aware of it and reveal himself in their hearts, our beloved Sadguru Papa came in human form to guide them. It is possible to guide human beings only through a human form. Therefore, the Guru, the Supreme Lord, comes in a human form to teach and guide humanity. These are not the portions just to be read. It should sink within, percolate within. Mataji has clearly mentioned, Again, she keeps on elaborating. In the beginning, said Mataji, there was only a vast, limitless, empty space, a great void. This void represented Papa's transcendental, eternal being. Such a being we have to realize within ourselves. Just as we could have an idea of what a man or an object was, like with the shadow of it cast on earth, likewise, she was mentioning the void as representing him. That he was like the infinite space we could see all around us when we were flying in a plane. In actuality, said Mataji, he was all this and far, far beyond it. So what she was telling us was merely an approximity to reality, like the shadow was to man. So Papa's eternal being that we have to attain is one of utter emptiness, like the vacant space around us. If we are to attain such a void, we should also become thoroughly empty within, stillness, That is to say, there should not be the least vestige of Dehabhiman, body consciousness in us. Only then we can attain Papa's Shashwata Swarup. Until and unless our Dehaviman goes completely, until the last trace of it disappears altogether, Papa cannot reveal himself in us. Papa's real nature, real Swabhava, is Nirguna Nirvikara Swarup, nameless, formless, static, void aspect. Such a supreme being who fills all space came in a human form in order to enjoy his own bliss. It is like enclosing the emptiness that is all around you within the confines of a small container, glass. Take away the enclosure, what is left? Only the emptiness again. Emptiness is there inside. This enclosure is taken. That's what Mataji says. Pah. Papa's eternal being is all void. And we can become one such Swarup only when, if we ourselves become thoroughly empty within and without. As I went on doing what Papa had asked me to, I began to identify every article I saw, be it a flower, a piece of cloth, or any other article, with its source, namely God, Papa, and tell me what a beautiful thing Papa has wrought. Gradually, Papa's thought filled me through and through. The void that pervaded all around me permeated my mind. There would then ensue long spells of void or utter blankness of mind between two thoughts. Here we remember Papa's words. We keep on chanting God's name. When all other dissimilar thought currents are arrested, only the Nama goes on. And when only the Nama goes on, we become aware of the Nama. Who becomes aware? It stops. Again another thought comes, we immediately start Ram Nam. So Papa says the interval between the end of a Ram Nam and the beginning of next Ram Nam, this should be slowly widened. This is what Mataji here says. There would then ensue long spells of void or utter blankness of mind between two thoughts. Two thoughts. We may not be able to easily understand between the two thoughts. That is why we take the Nama. When the thoughts are filled with our mind, we hardly notice the gap between. So that is why Ramnam has been introduced. And then Papa declares that utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. It is in the stillness that God is revealed. We know and realize God. Utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. In the stillness it is that you know and realize God. Bhajan, Kirtan, Namasmaran are all means to that end. You have to repeat, chant or sing the name, no doubt, for a certain period. After that, repetition must cease. Mind must become perfectly still. In that stillness, duality is transcended, and the repeater and the repeated, devotee and God become one. This Nirguna Nirakara, Papa has manifested as the entire universe with innumerable names and forms. He is seated in your heart and in everybody's heart. The mind reaches a state of stillness or void like the space between you and me or between the road and the sky above. That emptiness pervades you within and without. Then you get sakshatkar in no time. That Nirguna Nirakara Papa has manifested as the entire universe with innumerable names and forms. He is seated in your heart and in everybody's heart. The mind reaches a state of stillness or void like the space between you and me, or between the road and the sky above. That emptiness pervades you within and without. Then you get sakshatkar in no time. The devotee even gets to know what that ultimate state of realization would be, like the vast space around us and between us, and so on. Just to bring some thought into your mind, and as soon as that thought ends, there is a pause before you think of another thought, and the mind is blank in this period. That blankness is Papa, God. The vacant space between you and me is Papa. So much is He all pervading, and such an all pervading Papa is seated in your heart. In the final stage of God realization, when you become one with reality, you shed the last vestige of body consciousness and the sense of duality and become one with Him. So, this has also to be contemplated upon very deeply, because the Jnanottara Bhakti, which is the end and aim of all our spiritual pursuits, if it has to become a reality, we should have both. Inside, what is there, inside of the core of our being is nameless, formless. But He has appeared with a name and form in us and everywhere. How Saguna and Nirguna are intertwined, how Jnana and Bhakti are intertwined. Inside us, the core of our personality is Nirguna Nirakara, nameless, formless. It is the subtle, mysterious force, mysterious power. And so many Mataji have given the direction. And then the same Nirguna Nirakar is now manifested as this form. So this form is Saguna, but what is inside is Nirguna. Anything, any pursuit in toward this Nirguna is called Jnana. Any pursuit that goes toward the Saguna is called Bhakti. Because here, the me is there and He is there. The Saguna form is there. In the Nirguna, there are no duality. In the Saguna, we are all different forms. Each one of us is different. The room is different. Chair is different. Everything is different. Roof is different. Light is different. Fan is different. So here the how it is intertwined, Jnanottara Bhakti. When we are going through this in-depth study of Inquest of God, this is very, 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 very important. During this sannyas centenary of our beloved Papa, we are all trying to understand the various stages and where are we now and how to improve. And where to improve. That is why he is prompting us to take up all these. He is giving us bhakti, he is giving us jnana, and now he makes us to understand, convinces us that it is intertwined. Saguna and Nirguna. Nirguna and Saguna. To experience Nirguna, our thoughts cannot help. It is beyond the purview of thoughts. So that is why, in Jnana Marga, various disciplines we do that and then do it. But at the same time, we are there, in concrete, palpable, tangible form. And at the form level, there are dvandas. At the Nirguna level, no. So to realize both, that's why he named it as Parabhakti. So here Papa clearly says Parabhakti is bhakti that comes to you after the realization of God in his Nirguna aspect. The realization that you are the Atman, which is Nirguna Nirakara, which pervades the entire universe. As the Nirguna Tattva, he is the substratum for the manifestation. Ramdas was made to go along this path, leading to the vision of the world as the manifestation of the Lord. It is said that, then the question was asked, in what way does Ramdas see Ram everywhere? Does he see Ram as Ram's Murti everywhere? Papa, that is not it. Just as gold is seen in all the different pieces of gold ornaments, Ramdas sees the same immortal reality manifested in all the things of the universe. Out of one lump of clay, you make various kinds of pots, and when we look at them with a view to see the clay, you will see in them all equally nothing but clay. Apparently, they are different from each other, having a separate shape, name, and form, but as clay, they are all one. So as God has manifested himself in a variety of forms, God is the thread in which the beads of manifestation are strung. Jnaneshwar Maharaj puts it more appropriately, God is a gold wire in which gold beads of his own manifestation are strung. So God is inside and outside. Every form is he. The formless one is also he. In this sense, Ramdas says that Ram is everywhere for him. If you want to see Ram, you have to be Ram himself. You have to be Ram himself. This is a mystery. Being one with him, how can you see him? It is a sight that sees not. There is now absolutely no separation from your beloved because you have known that you and he are one. You always feel his presence and enjoy perennial ecstasy. You are then not afraid to move in the world, but as you see only your beloved in every form, and therefore every contact and sight in the world give you nothing but pure joy and ecstasy, you have found the root of your very existence, which is pure bliss. As Sri Ramakrishna has said, give the power of attorney to God and live in the world feeling that you are merely a servant obeying his commands, that everything belongs to him. Serve people in the house in his name, and then it is that we live the true Grihastha's life. Functions or duties of a Grihastha are described in the Upanishads. First of all, you must treat your parents as the very forms of God. Whenever guests come to you, you must treat them with all love and hospitality, looking upon them as God. You must consider your Guru as God and worship him. So Grihasthas must serve sadhus and saints with all reverence, and whatever service they do must be done in all humility, love and devotion. Living the Grihastha life with this attitude will lead to continuous remembrance of God and the ultimate realization of Him. Bhakti is the easiest and the quickest path. This is so because bhakti means love for God. Love is natural with us. We have love for our very birth. We have love from our very birth. First, we learn to love our mother. Loving the mother need not be taught to the child. It has not to go to school to learn the art of loving. All children love the sweet company of their mother and are very fond of her. This is the most natural way. When the child grows up, it serves the mother, and in her service finds joy. If it is far away from the mother, it remembers her often and feels her presence by such remembrance. So, from the very beginning, God has taught us how to love so naturally. Why can we not turn this love toward the giver of it? God. Bhakti is love and devotion to God. Instead of making ephemeral things the objects of our love, we have only to have God as the object of it. If you follow other yogas, you have to practice them in order to create this condition within you, namely love for union with God. In the case of bhakti, this condition is already there. You have only to direct it to Him. Hence, this is the most natural path. You know how much a miser loves money. It's a great joy for him to think of it, to see it, and to handle it. If he only turns that love towards God, he can attain God easily because the love and intensity of it are already there. Only the object is to be changed. The bhakti path is also the quickest because the other yogas are difficult to practice and take much longer time, while bhakti takes you straight to your eternal beloved. If you want to attain liberation, if you want to free yourself from the bondage of rebirth and karma, your heart must turn to God. Through vichara, you discriminate real from the unreal and know that the indwelling Atman alone is real. Then what you have to do is only to change over from the world to God. Now the heart takes up the task and you have to make the discriminative faculty quiet, intellect quiet. The latter has done its work and is no more to interfere with the heart. The floodgates of your heart open, pouring love and devotion to God. Give all the affection and adoration of your heart to Him, and merging yourself in Him, know you are He. See Him within you and everywhere about you, and enjoy immortal peace and bliss. So Papa is slowly, through Mataji's words, through his own words, he is giving us more and more clarity on the word Jnanottara Bhakti. So from what we have recently now read, Jnana has a part to play up to a certain stage. Then the Bhakti should take over. Papa says, in this hall, there are four walls. It is not the walls we are making use of, but the empty space within them. In a vessel, which is the most useful portion? The empty space. So if you empty yourself completely, you create something like a vacuum within yourself, then you are really full, you are most useful. A flute, unless it is empty, is of no use. It must be hollow, otherwise it will not produce any music. You must empty yourself of the ego, and then the flute player will take you up. I am nothing, you are everything. That is the way to empty yourself. So we have a mixture of both Jnana and Bhakti, and today he beautifully brought it how it is intertwined. Loving him only triggers. But to love him, we should be clear about the image, about the object to be loved. That jnana will help us. Knowledge will help us to know whom to be loved. And then the work of jnana is over. Then because the loved one, the love, what is to be loved is clear now. So we give love to it. Day for yesterday we saw that in Uddhava's case, Today what he gave us was subjective and subtle ideas. It has to be contemplated upon, deeply contemplated upon. And then we can have some glimpse of it. Absorbing and assimilating the words of wisdom of Papa and Mataji, and then try to make it go deeply within us. We have been assured that we will be able to reach the goal. So we pray to Him. You have facilitated so many things for us. Every day you are making it clearer and clearer. Bestow upon us your unbounded grace continuously, so that we may be able to feel your presence. That's all we ask. Feel your presence behind everything, always. Feel your presence behind everything, always. Let this prayer get rooted in us. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama Om.